Hey there everyone, Laurel Beard here with a video today sharing some watercoloring tips for beginners. In today's video, I'm going to use the Watercolor Brush Markers Tropical Fiesta set. It comes in a 10-pack and they are real brush tip markers, and the tips are very flexible, so you're able to form both broad and fine strokes, and they're very pigmented markers. And today I want to show you just how easy they are to use. This is a great marker set to use if you're kind of getting into the world of watercoloring with some markers. So to start with, I've got my MISTI stamping tool, and I've got a couple of images from the Frosted Garden stamp set. As always, all the supplies I'm using are linked below in the video in the order they appear for your ease. So I'm just kind of positioning where I want the stamps to be on my cardstock. That's some watercolored cardstock. Then once I got my stamps where I want them, I'll close the MISTI door and it will pick up the stamp. So this is basically acting as a large acrylic block. Then I'm going to take the watercolor markers and these beautiful colors, these beautiful spring colors, which is funny because I'm looking out my window right now and it's just snowing like crazy. But I'm channeling the spring, which is supposed to be here in a couple of weeks, and I'm taking these markers and I am just applying them directly to the stamp. Because these brush tips are very flexible and sturdy, I'm able to get into all the areas of these stamps here, and I'm not worried at all about having the green touch the pink on accident or anything like that, because you can't contaminate the watercolor in these little brush tips. So once I am happy with all the placement of where I'm putting the color here, I can go ahead and spray it with some water, which I'll do. You can spray it also with like a perfect pearlescent mixture of water, which is like a perfect pearls and water mixed together to get some really fun shine. But for today, I'm just going to go in with some regular water. So I spritzed it heavily to kind of blend the colors together a little bit, and that pretty much does most of the work for me. Then I'm pressing it down onto my cardstock, and then I lift up, and will you just look at that? Effortless. But before I clean off my stamp, I'm going to go ahead and apply some more cardstock to the same spot. I'm going to spritz that stamp with water one more time just to reactivate all the watercolor on the stamp, and then I get a beautiful second impression like that. Isn't that gorgeous? 2 for 1. So I'm going to go in and add the little insides to the flowers as well. Again, same technique. I'm just coloring directly onto the stamp and then stamping. You can also use these markers like you would traditional watercolors. I am scribbling on some watercolor onto my glass surface there and spritzing it with some water, and I've created my own palette here. And at this point, I'm going to go in and kind of color all of that white space that I've left there. Now, you can leave this alone because I think those gorgeous, vibrant colors against the black is really quite pretty. But this is a video showing some tips on watercoloring for beginners, so let me just show you how easy this is. I did squirt the watercolored paper with some water first. I'm being careful when I'm spraying my nozzle. I'm only spraying it in the white space. I don't want to reactivate all that watercolor I just put down by stamping. So I'm just going in and adding the water first, and then I'm picking up the colors and then adding the watercolor right over the top of the water. In doing this, I find the water does all the work for you. So that's a huge tip for you. Make sure that you've got the water down first and then add your watercolor, and it's almost effortless. And if you're getting some areas that have too much color in one space, just reactivate that with some water and kind of move it around a little bit. You can also keep a paper towel nearby and kind of dab up any dollops of paint that you get where you don't want it, which I'm actually going to do in the next card here. So again, I'm actually at this point kind of combining both colors, as you can see here, just to get a pretty kind of, I don't know, like a cloudy sky against these beautiful spring florals. That was kind of the look I was going with. But these markers are just so easy to use for watercoloring. Again, I gave it one final spritz, and then I'm just going to leave it alone to dry. You can also add some heat to it if you want to kind of speed along the process. But for the most part, I find that letting the watercolor panels dry naturally really is the way to go. So for this card, again, I'm spraying the water first, as you can see here. And in this instance, I'm going in with just 2 colors of the markers in the fresh lemon and purple wine, a beautiful pink and yellow that just looks so pretty together. And I'm just kind of adding this together, and when it goes down, it doesn't look all that pretty. It looks very intense. And but this is where I've got to clean rag there, by the way, but you could also use a paper towel and kind of dab up any of the areas that are just puddling up too much. And this was a very light print. This was the second card base that I made. So these are very light images. So I don't want the color in the background to overpower the stamped images and then lose that image. So it's good to always kind of keep a paper towel near you, which is another tip, just in case you need to dab anything away. Like right here, I was like, oh my gosh, I used some dirty water on accident. So I was able to dab that way very easily. Thank goodness. If I had played what I probably screamed at that point when I saw that I just put dirty water down on my card panel. So here's a look at it, good and dry. And they kind of intensify some when they dry. And I like all those hard lines that you see there. That's because I just let it dry naturally. I didn't add any heat. I didn't try to dab anything away. I kind of like those lines on here. It really gives it an organic look. At this point, I'm going in and flicking on some Perfect Pearls, which is just a pearlescent spray, and that's going to add some beautiful little flicks of color. I am not one for sequins. If you are good with sequins, putting some around this card would really have been pretty. I'm not good at it, so that's why I do my little paint flicking, if you will. That's my replacement for sequins, just because I stink at where to put them. I envy everyone who is good with sequins. And then as a finishing touch, I did adhere these panels to some card bases, and then I'm rounding the corners. Now here is a close-up of all 10 colors that come in the Tropical Fiesta set. And here I am just quickly swatching out the colors for you on some watercolored cardstock. I just scribbled them down, then I blended them out with some clean water. And here I am with my horrible handwriting, labeling them for you. Aren't they just pretty? I love it. So here is a look at both the cards we made in today's video using these markers along with some tips I shared with you for watercoloring for beginners. And I hope you find this helpful. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time for my next video. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.